All right, welcome back to the Sci Fi Case Part 3 in Autodesk Maya. So this is kind of where we left off last time. We've started adding all these extrusions after dividing and adding edge loops and even using the offset edge loop tool. Next, we need to add some structural supports. Because right now, if I select this object and hit the 3 key, which is a smooth mesh preview, you can see how kind of rubbery everything is, where if I select this object and hit 3, it's got a firmer stance on the top part. Down below it's kind of rubbery because I didn't add edge loops down there just to show you the difference. But let's go ahead and we'll start to do that next. So I'm going to turn off that one. I'm going to select this one, go back to 1, and hit the F key on it. And actually I'm going to isolate this object. So you can click on this little arrow to isolate, and you can see now all the edge loops going around where they're at and so forth. And so now we have to start adding some edge loops in here for support. So the first one I'm going to do is, I think in the back, if you hit number 3, you kind of see how things round off. And the front, they kind of round off, especially these front pieces here. So I'll start to add some edge loops here. So again, I have it in my custom shelf, the insert edge loop tool, but you can find that under the mesh tools, and there's the insert edge loop tool. I double click on it and just make sure that, and go ahead and click on reset, just make sure relative distance from edge is selected. So this one allows me to interactively kind of drag, and I'm going to click on here and kind of bring it close to the edge. Again, not all the way up to the end there, but by doing that, once I hit 3, you can see it starts to firm things off a little bit. So I'll bring back to 1. And this doesn't always work for objects. This is kind of a square cube object, so it works pretty good overall. So I'll go ahead and add one right here, which will kind of bring up that whole corner. In fact, it'll kind of add an edge along the front now. You can start to see, if I hit number 3, you can kind of see a preview of what it's going to look like there. In the front here, what I'm going to do next is, let's see, we're going to add edge loop right here on the side here, and then one here. And then to get this edge to make sharp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one on the inside here, and you can see how it added it all throughout each one, and one here. And that's because they're looping around and they're interconnected. So we're going to do that. And let's see, I'm also going to add one here on the top and one here. So what that does, it kind of gives me structurally some good sort of structure here on that. And I'll kind of show you here. If I click off, right click, go to object mode. Again, I always click on the arrow tools to kind of escape out, and then hit number 3 and click off. And let me turn off wireframe unshaded. You can kind of see it a little bit better. You can start to see how things are starting to firm up back here with these extra supporting lines. So you can see in the inside here how rubbery it is if I hit number 1. So if I add an edge loop right here and kind of bring it up and bring it down right there, there's going to be now some crispness in here. Once I hit number 3 and click off, you can see now how it looks. Now again, my smooth preview is set to low, and what's the default, which is 2, but again I can increase that to 3, and you'll start to see the less faceted kind of curves there. So that's starting to look pretty good there. Now in the front here, I'm going to select this and hit number 1. I'm going to add edge loops to kind of firm up this area here in the inside part. So I'll add an edge loop right across here, like the big square, and one in the front and one in the back, and one here and one here. And again, what that'll do is it'll kind of just firm everything up, and then I just have to go through and keep adding it wherever I like. Basically, you don't want to go too crazy, but you want to be kind of thoughtful about where you want them. So I can add one there and one there. So again, those 2 edge loops there in the top, and one there. Bring that in, one there. And if you accidentally click on an area you don't want, like say I clicked right here, and that might be kind of cool, but if I don't want that, I just can hit Control Z to undo. So on the inside here of this loop, I kind of want to have one on the in and on the out. Then I'll kind of tighten up that shape, and it will do the same thing on this one, again on the in and the out. And then on this one, I'm just gonna have to go here and here, and then let's add the edge on the corner there. And so let's take a look now. I'll click out, right click, go to object mode, and then hit number 3. As I click off, you can start to see now things are really starting to form up pretty well. So we got some, better edge detail on these thinner pieces that are coming along. There's some areas where it's a little rubbery still. So again, I can continue to add more edge loops. So if I hit number 1 here, if I add one, because I have on this square piece here, I have them going across this way. But if I go up and add one there and one there, you'll start to see how much firmer it is, especially when I compare it to the bottom one. Hit number 3 on there. You can see how the bottom one still got some softness around the corner edge there versus the firmness there. So basically that's pretty much it. Now these guys here, hit number 1. If I want to make this a little bit tighter, what I want to do is add an edge loop right here, kind of click across. So what that does, it'll add some firmness in there, and then bring one across there. And then if I want to do it again in between these guys, I would have to click on here and go across, and then here go across. So and if it's too much, you can end it a little bit sooner if you have to, but I think because this is a square piece, overall all these should work out pretty well. So I click out, right click, go to object mode, and then hit number 3 and click off. So you can see now we got these nicely shaped objects here, nice crisp edges all over. They have a little bevel to them is what we're looking at, but you can see how rubbery it is underneath here. So I'll do this on my own in the tutorial. Basically it's just repetitive. Basically just add 2, 2, 2 on each of those, and see if there's anything else that needs a little bit sharper. Maybe on the inside here I could add a couple of edge loops. It is kind of like a loop here. If you hit number 1, you can see in between here there's no separation here, so maybe let's do that right now. Add one right there, and then we're right there. What that'll do is kind of tighten up the separation between those two areas. So when I hit number 3 here, you can see just tightens that up just a little bit. If I click off there, and that looks pretty good. So yeah, so this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy the way things are going along. Again, in the next tutorial, we'll start to modify and add more things, but we're in a good spot here. In between tutorials, I'll kind of finish off the bottom. Again, I know I said real-time everything, but it's exactly the same thing as the top since it's symmetrical. In fact, if I want to, I could delete half the mesh and just mirror it across. That is one way to very easily do that. Actually, I'll just show you that real quick because that's not a bad idea. Let me isolate it. So basically what I want to do is just select the bottom half here. And so if I go to the front view here, and let's isolate this, go to face mode, and basically just select the bottom half of the faces here. Make sure they're selected. That looks good. And then I can just delete. Boom. Those are all gone. And then to mirror this object, I can just use the mirror tool. So I'll go back to object mode, and it's under the mesh tool, and here's mirror. So I can just click on it, and it opens up the options in here. So in the past, you would want to go to the options directly, which is, they've had some new updates in 2023. So I'm in the world view, but I want to mirror on the y-axis, not the z. So I can click in here and switch to y. And then in the negative, right now it's the positive, so I want to mirror down to the negative side. And you can see it did a really good job, so I didn't have to do all that extra work. So anytime you have anything that's symmetrical, this is really the best way to deal with it. And then if there's a merge threshold here, but it's basically lined up right on the line. So there shouldn't be any issues. If I click off and hit number 3 and click off, you can kind of see if there is any. You would see it in the seam line there as you go around, but it looks really good. So basically I saved myself a ton of work, not that much work, but a little bit of work by basically mirroring objects. So learn the power of mirror, guys. And working in anything, at least anything with some symmetry, right? I think is really key with that. Let me just add wireframe line shaded, and I feel like this looks pretty good. Let's compare it to the original. There it is. So I'm starting to dig this, and so we'll see where we lie in the next tutorial. We'll continue. Maybe we'll do, I don't know, I might do some more details here, or we might start on the edges on the case. So and here are some, again, any of these different things I might start to add in the next tutorial. We'll see what happens. So see you soon in part 3, or part 4 I should say. Until next time, see you soon. Cheers.